The Toronto Blue Jays now second in all of the AL after a huge series sweep against the Giants.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. For the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, on our main page, Twitter page, at Locked On Jays. And if you haven't followed us on Instagram or TikTok, go do that. You can follow us at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. It really does help out. You know, you guys get your podcasts, your shorts, your live streams, the videos, the whole thing. We have a live stream coming Tuesday night, so make sure you guys tune in for that as well, sort of throughout the game. And yeah, a lot to get into, obviously, as the Toronto Blue Jays set a franchise, tie a franchise record, or set a franchise record for the most wins, home winning streak, 10 games. Plus, they're second in the AL East, so we got to talk about that. The series preview coming later. But, Carter, I don't get to do this too often, but, man, do I get to do this a lot this year. The Toronto Blue Jays sweep alert. You love it. I can see it on your face.
Yeah, people have their volume pretty high on their headphones, car stereo. Like, they might be hating you right now. But, I mean, that might be the only negativity in their minds right now after just a great weekend, once again, from the Toronto Blue Jays. 8 series sweeps this season, 6 of them coming at home. Seems absolutely ridiculous at home. Some people are even saying this might be some cheating going on because it's been absolutely ridiculous what we've seen, again, from multiple players, pretty much the entire lineup on the Toronto Blue Jays. It seems like we're just tape recorders on this podcast because it's the same thing this entire season is that you're getting production from everybody from 1 through 9. Every time we think, this Blue Jays might take a step back, we both had the Blue Jays losing this series 2-1. That definitely did not happen. They just kind of rolled over the San Francisco Giants. And with this stretch they're on right now, they got the Giants here, obviously, a big series coming up against the New York Yankees. And then you got the Detroit Tigers for 4 games. And like you said, when you led this episode off, Toronto Blue Jays second in the American League, not in the AL East, in the American League. And they're a game and a half back of the Detroit Tigers. So that 4-game set could put them over that hump and put them into first place in the American League. Right now, they're in a spot where they would avoid the wild card round, which is music to our ears. Obviously, the Toronto Blue Jays have not had success in that wild card round. So if you can skip over it, I think a lot of fans are going to be on that side. But just an unbelievable weekend. So much fun every single time we get to watch this baseball team. And it just keeps on getting better and better. And this makes me so excited for what this team is going to do at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and you know what? That's I think my biggest takeaway from, this series is we weren't sure, can this team continue post All-Star break? You come out the first series against the Giants, who I'm not going to lie, I was pretty terrified to see. I was like, oh no, this is a team that could put up a million runs. But you know what? That's a team, obviously, their offense hasn't been clicking together all season long, and that's sort of been their issue, is they might get a week of this guy being really good, a week of this guy being that good. But they're not like the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are getting consistent production from up and down their lineup, 1 to 9. And that's what puts this team over the hump against most other teams, is that I don't know how many teams are a solid 1 to 9 that anybody can do damage at any time. So, I mean, that's where the Blue Jays could have an upper hand on any team they face. But you're right, a couple big series coming up, Carter. You know what? I think let's just jump right into the games because we have a lot to talk about in segment 2. We got to talk injury updates. A couple other things that I want to bring up, something from game 3, but I'm sort of going to save that as a bigger talking point in segment 2 here. But Carter, I guess game 1, it was sort of I hate to say this, but a little bit of a nothing burger win for the Blue Jays. Like at no point did this team seem like they were going to take their foot off the gas pedal here. It was just sort of the Blue Jays right from when they first scored, and then that was it, sort of.
Yeah, I don't know if you can call a win a nothing burger, like when your team wins a baseball game. I think that's, just
no,
a
I
good
just
thing.
mean
They did a lot of good things.
Just an uninteresting baseball game. Like it was just a win, and they scored 4 early, and then nothing happened. Like,
Yeah, after the second inning, you could say it was a little bit of a snooze fest, but that second inning, a whole lot of fun beating up on Justin Verlander, that old man out there in San Francisco. Seems like with all of these older guys, you got Charlie Morton, like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander. Who would have thought? It's not really working out for a lot of these guys. I know winning is not necessarily a pitching stat. Justin Verlander is 0-8 on the season. Usually, if it's like that bad, if you're 0 for 8, like you're either getting extremely unlucky or there's a reason that you might be 0-8, and Justin Verlander not having the greatest season. But that was the game again, that it wasn't Vladdy. It wasn't the top of the order. It was the bottom of the order coming through and firing on all cylinders. Aston Barger starts it off with a single up the middle. You had some great swings from Joey Loperfido, great swings from Will Wagner. Loperfido taking an inside fastball down the line. Will Wagner waits on that curveball, absolutely hammers that down the line as well. Nathan Lucas is just absolutely ridiculous. He's becoming one of my favorite players on the Toronto Blue Jays because he is an absolute pest at the plate. You see so many pitches. He's fouling baseballs off. And if you would have told me at the start of the season, like, hey, Nathan Lucas and Ernie Clement are going to be sharing a platoon for leading off, I didn't think that would be going that well. I did not think the Toronto Blue Jays would be in contention for the lead in the American League. Just pulling up his stats from in the leadoff spot here. He has a 382 average, 432 on base, 588 slugging for 1,020 OPS. That's when this guy's leading off for your baseball team. That's going to lead to a lot of success, especially when you have George Springer coming up behind him, who's just absolutely on the loose. You got Vladdy, you got Bo, you got a lot of hitters throughout this lineup, Barger, Kirk, that are very scary for other teams. So that's one thing that's super nice this season, is that if you're another team and you're looking at the schedule and you see the big bad Toronto Blue Jays coming to town, you're like, oh no, this probably is not going to go well. I'm absolutely terrified to play against this baseball team. Where in previous years, especially in 2024, it's like, oh, we got the Jays. That might be the easiest series win of all time. So it's crazy how quick the narrative can change. And that will lead me into a George Springer conversation that I want to have later on this episode. Well, I'll just throw it back over to you for anything else you saw from game one.
Yeah, and I think my biggest takeaway from game one is Chris Bassitt's ability to work out of trouble. That's my biggest takeaway. Yeah, the offense, you know what? We've seen them do this. And I hate to say that I sort of just expect it now, but this team has been so consistent that I do a little bit expect it. So yeah, great job from the bottom of the order getting the job done. But Chris Bassitt was the real shock. I think there were so many situations where I'm like, oh no, this game could take a turn here. Oh no, is this going to be the what breaks here and this team's going to give up the lead? No, Chris Bassitt finds ways to work out of situations, and that was super, super fun to watch. I was sort of on the edge of my seat almost every inning. I guess, I said this was sort of a nothing burger game, but I think watching Chris Bassitt work out of trouble was awesome because he's a guy that is known to be able to do that. It's just, it's sort of, you do forget, and then you're, sitting there with two runners on base and your heart's pounding thinking, oh my goodness, is this going to be where it happens? But yeah, you give up no runs. Yariel Rodriguez was great. Jeff Hoffman was great. I don't know, man. Great, I guess, is what I'll leave off with here.
Yeah, just a great series, to use the great ones that we're talking about right now. Great. I guess that's a good way to describe this Toronto Blue Jays weekend. Yeah, Jeff Hoffman strikes out the side. Like, that's unbelievable. Yariel Rodriguez, Brendan Little. That's the nice thing about having this all-star break. A lot of these guys were rested. So in that first game, you're able to throw the house, the boat, the kids, the dog, everything at the San Francisco Giants lineup. And they did not have a lot of success in that first game, which this does take us into the second game of the series. Just shout out to the entire Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff. Chris Bassitt pitching the contact, kind of getting hit hard, but again, not when you don't give up a run. That is a pretty good performance in my books. The Saturday game, there's two guys I really want to talk about here. Tyler Heineman, we got to talk about this guy. Just pimping baseballs. This guy's, admiring home runs now. Like, he looked at that one for a while, and I absolutely love it. This guy has 4 home runs in his career, 3 of them this season. I would have thought. Just like, there's so many players on this team that you're like, oh, they're probably dead. Like, their career's not necessarily over, but like the best is definitely not in front of them, and it's probably already happened. And Tyler Heineman proving the narrative wrong. Like, George Springer continuing on. Like, it's just, again, like, you can't predict what this team is going to do day in and day out. You just know that it's going to be something crazy, and you're going to get production from probably a lot of guys that, if you're looking at other fans looking at the Toronto Blue Jays, like, you're looking at Tyler Heineman has a 900 OPS. I know the sample size is pretty small, but you can't ask for anything more from a backup catcher with what Tyler Heineman's doing for this ball team.
Yeah, I think people are going to start. I think the conversation's out there that this was the best catcher tandem in the league because you got Alejandro Kirk, who's just an absolute stud all the time. But then when Tyler Heineman has to come into a game, it's like, oh my goodness, it's Babe Ruth coming to the plate.
See, like the only tandem I have that's better than the Toronto Blue Jays is the tandem of Cal Raleigh. That's it.
That's true.
Just Cal Raleigh.
Yeah. Don't ever put that guy on the bench. Keep him playing every single game. His knees might fall off, but he's gonna crush home runs anyway. No, just a great game overall, Carter. Again, one that I thought the Blue Jays might be a little bit down and out in, but you can never count out this offense. I mean, again, this team doesn't even score until the 6th inning, and then they came alive and got the job done. So I think that's the one big thing I'm taking out of this season is that this is a offense that you can never count out. It doesn't matter how late into a ball game it is. If they have a chance to get the win, they're going to fight and claw and, have that grittier mindset to be able to get the job done. And again, they sort of prove all the fans that are hoping and praying that this team can be good, right?
Yeah, and this team is definitely looking really good. And there's, again, a lot of players that are just super exciting to watch. Like, this is one player I want to have a conversation about here as well, and it's Eric Lauer. Sits down 13 straight to start the game. This guy has been, again, the savior of this Toronto Blue Jays team. It's kind of something I wanted to bring up to you here because you weren't necessarily, it took you a little bit longer than a lot of people to get in on the Lauer Hour, the Eric Lauer show. We've seen, like, this isn't a small sample size anymore. We've seen this consistently in the last 7, 8, 9 appearances from Eric Lauer. So I was just going to frame this question to you, kind of maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself. But with the lack of consistency that we have seen from the starting pitching staff, with Jose Berrios, with Chris Bassitt, Chris Bassitt being a little bit more consistent, with Kevin Gausman, Max Scherzer being a little bit all over the place, Eric Lauer has been that epitome of consistency, and he's doing it against good lineups, bad lineups, doesn't matter who he's going against. Eric Lauer is having productive at-bats, and he is making hitters look absolutely silly at the plate. At what point, if Eric Lauer can continue to do this for the rest of the season, are we thinking, hey, maybe this guy makes a playoff start for this ball club?
That's tough. I believe in him as a starter. He has proven me wrong, and because I went out and said I'm sort of always waiting for the other shoe to drop with Eric Lauer. It hasn't yet, and I got to stay on the train of back these guys up, support these guys because they're proving that they can get the job done. A playoff baseball is a completely different beast. And I hate to say it, but we've seen even with this Blue Jays team, them look good and they go into the playoffs and they've fallen apart, right? And I think this team is hopefully going to prove everything and all the doubters that this team can't perform in the playoffs wrong. But I think when you have wilier veterans in Kevin Gausman, Jose Berrios, Chris Bassitt, I just tend to lean towards there. I don't hate that it's a conversation now. Don't get me wrong. I think Eric Lauer will be in the talks of will he get a start. But I wouldn't hang my hat on it either. And I guess we will see if he continues to be extraordinary, maybe. But I'm not quite ready to say that yet.
Yeah, he definitely would have to be consistent for the rest of the season. But if he keeps up this level of production, I think it's almost like a no-brainer. Like, how are you going to keep a guy that's been that good for a whole season off of your kind of like he's going to be on the playoff roster, obviously, but not starting in a playoff game, especially if you lack that consistency from Kevin Gausman. Jose Berrios has been a little bit shaky recently. Chris Bassitt, again, these guys do have that veteran experience over Lauer, but at some point you got to realize what's right in front of you and you got to put your best players out there. So yeah, a lot to be kind of laid out in front of us here. I'm not going to say Eric Lauer is like your day one starter, game number one starter. I don't even think he has this consistency. I don't think I roll him out for game one, but I think it's definitely around the time that we're supposed to have that conversation. At least start thinking about how they're going to use Eric Lauer, if they are going to start him in a playoff game. But if anything, he would be one of those guys that if you see Kevin Gausman, see Chris Bassitt, see one of these guys kind of struggle early on, I think you quickly pull that leash, and I'd be absolutely fine with throwing Eric Lauer in kind of out of this bullpen long relief role.
Well, and you know what? I don't think it's even a Kevin Gausman or Jose Berrios situation. I think if anybody, I think he goes over Chris Bassitt and you use Chris Bassitt in a bullpen role.
See, but Chris Bassitt's been better than Berrios and Gausman this year.
I agree, but I don't think that that's the case. I think if anybody's going to end up going to the pen and being utilized in a different situation, I think Chris Bassitt's been the guy that sort of shows that he's willing to do anything for this team and anything for this team to win. So I think I just in my head with sort of what happened before the All-Star break and him saying, hey, I can go in the pen. I can go. I think maybe you use Chris Bassitt as that B guy where if one guy struggles or starts out a little slow, bang, you go to Chris Bassitt in the bullpen for a long relief role in a playoff situation. Again, it's very early to be talking about all this, But I could see that as a very viable situation that happens here.
Yeah, and it's definitely a nice conversation to have that we do have the ability that we can have 5 starting pitchers that you can roll out in some sort of capacity and be confident that they can throw up outs for you. I think we are at the point now. We are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves talking about the playoffs. This Toronto Blue Jays team is 17 games above 500. If they can just play 500 baseball, again, we'd probably be disappointed with that at this point in the season. But if you play 500 baseball, that probably gets you to the playoffs. So barring something absolutely catastrophic, I'm not going to say it's a lock quite yet, but there's a very high chance, obviously, that this Toronto Blue Jays team will see some baseball in October, some playoff baseball, hopefully at the Rogers Center. But yeah, so Tyler Heineman, absolutely ridiculous, obviously, in this game as well. Eric Lauer, like we said, sat down the first 13 in this game until Willie Adames kind of, figured him out a little bit, hit 2 home runs in this baseball game, obviously there. 14 hits in this game as well. Absolutely ridiculous. As in Barger, 4 for 4. Like, this guy's a whole lot of fun to watch, and we'll continue to talk about him in game 3. But is there anything else that you quickly want to bring up from this game? I'll throw in Jeff Hoffman quick as well. Just going from in that 9th inning, just 1, 2, 3, top of the order. Just absolutely schmelly. Get out of here. Really no worries from Jeff Hoffman whatsoever, and really proving the doubters wrong. Had a bad month of May, but since then has been absolutely electric. And overall, again, bullpen ERAs can get inflated pretty quickly. You have a couple blow-up starts. Jeff Hoffman really only pitching 1 inning per outing. So if he gives up, 3 earned runs in that 1 inning, it's going to take him a little while to lower that ERA. But I think Jeff Hoffman has been very good and probably at this point, one of the only good additions from this 2024 offseason.
Yeah, and you know what?
Offseason.
And you know what? He's a guy that we're going to talk about because there will be blow up nights, right? Where Jeff Hoffman gives up sort of a lead or whatever it may be. And I think the complaining is just bad on Toronto Blue Jays fans a little bit, because I think more often than not, you're seeing Jeff Hoffman go out there and throw up a great inning. But then when he gets blown up, he gets blown up. So I get it from fans' perspective as well. But when you look over the entire season's numbers, he really has been solid card. He's been able to get in there and get the saves, get the job done. But let's take a quick break. Let's come back. We'll talk game 3 and then get into injury updates. A couple pieces that Vlad was talking about after game 3 that I want to talk about, and a little piece just on Addison Barger as well before we hit the series preview. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and do all of that.
Today's episode is sponsored by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the most reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That is SH5 for 5% off your first order, and that is at supplyhouse.com.
So, Carter, continuing on, game 3. A lot happened in this game. This felt like the meat and potatoes game of this series. And it didn't start off well for the Toronto Blue Jays. A bloop hit, I want to say a fly ball, to Davis Schneider, and the sun is in his eyes, and he just can't find the ball. And it drops. That ends up becoming the Giants' first run of the game, and I'm like, ooh. This might be a game where the baseball gods are not on the side of the Toronto Blue Jays. A couple just bloop singles, blah, blah, blah. Error. I'm going to say an error on Davis Schneider's part, even though he wasn't credited with the error.
That's crazy to me.
Crazy that he wasn't. But yeah, not a great play. Not wearing sunglasses either, so he's not even helping himself out. He didn't really even put the glove up to block the sun. It was just a very strange play. I don't really know what he was doing. But anyway, then big bad Vlad comes up to the plate and ties the ball game. And that is something, Carter, for me, that's what I've been waiting to see from Vlad, right? Where it is an important home run, an important at bats. And Vlad had a few throughout this series, or this game at least anyway. And I don't know. It seems like when Vlad hits a home run, it's like, hey, maybe the game's over already, right? Or hey, he's just tacking on. But maybe this is a start to see Vlad find his groove again. And man, if Vlad can find his game in the back half of this season again, Carter, this is a terrifying team to play.
Oh, and we're going to need it. We talked about it for a playoff scenario, especially, is that you're going to need your superstars to play like your superstars. And Vladdy, I think if you asked a lot of people around the organization, again, it's not bad, but you're wanting a little bit more. You're wanting a little bit more power. That's his first home run in a very long time, only 13 home runs on the year. Not exactly what you're looking for from your superstar, but he still does have an opportunity to kind of pick it up a little bit here. And he's starting to show a little bit of signs as well. The launch angle problem has persisted for the last few seasons. I don't think that's going to change whatsoever. But if he can start elevating baseballs, which is the whole issue, obviously, here, but we're starting to see him, again, elevate the ball a little bit more, starting to get that power stroke back a little bit, maybe getting a little bit more of that confidence. For me personally, especially with the way the start of the season has went, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can just be really, really good for the last 60 games of the season. I'm going to completely forgive him for the first 100 games. The Toronto Blue Jays, again, 17 games above 500 in a pretty good spot. And that's without, again, we talk about this all the time, it's without Santander, who might be unalived. I don't know where he's at right now. We saw him in the dugout actually for the first time in a long time, but he's still not swinging a bat. Just doesn't really make sense to me there. But Varsho obviously as well, with hopefully a couple big trade deadline acquisitions. The team should only get better, and that's why things are so exciting here in Toronto Blue Jays land. But I said I wanted to talk about this guy, and it's George Springer. I mean, every single time, again, just continuing to prove pretty much everybody wrong in the year of 2025. I just wanted to go over, they talked about this a little bit on the broadcast. I just wanted to go over George Springer in 2024 compared to George Springer in 2025. Because we expected there to be a little bit of a turnaround. Nothing even close to this whatsoever. So George Springer in 2024, he played 145 games, 614 plate appearances, had 120 hits, 19 doubles, 19 home runs, 56 RBIs, 16 steals, and a 1.1 WAR. You might be able to see where I'm going with this. In 2025, 92 games, 369 plate appearances, so just over half what he had in 2024. He has 87 hits, 17 doubles, so 2 less from his 2024 numbers, 17 home runs, adding that one that he hit as well. So that's 2 home runs shy of what he hit in 2024, 54 RBIs, 2 RBIs short of what he did in 2024, 12 steals and a 1.6 WAR. So already has a higher WAR than he did in 2024. And that's not including the walk rate, the barrel percentage, the hard hit percentage, the chase rate. You can go on and on and on about George Springer. It's just truly incredible what we're seeing George Springer do in front of our eyes this year.
I'm absolutely blown away by this guy because, we talked about it a ton in the offseason and you know what, we did not give George Springer any flowers. But he was on a downward trajectory. Every single season was getting worse and worse. So yeah, we expect him to be maybe a slight bit better, or it could really have gotten worse, to be honest. But you know what? I don't know how this happens. A guy later in his career finds his game again. And this is, I don't know, maybe it's you refine a love for the game, you fine tune some things and you come back. But even at that, I don't know the last time we've seen an older player come back this aggressively. I'm trying to think around the league, who's another guy that you've seen had this kind of turnaround at this late in his career. I don't even know.
Byron Buxton, maybe he's 31.
Yeah,
that's maybe. Again, that's 4 years younger is Byron Buxton. It's been more of an injury thing for him as well, though. It's not necessarily that he's been bad when he's been playing. It's just he hasn't really been playing. So we haven't really seen a ton like this. Usually Father Time does hit players around this time. I guess Freddie Freeman, maybe another guy that's just consistently playing good baseball, but but never really had a down year. So it's truly just amazing what we're seeing from George Springer and just continuing to do it at an elite level. Probably the best offensive players so far this season on the Toronto Blue Jays. That is a little bit of a debate. You can throw in Barge, you can throw in Bichette. There's a bunch of guys that could compete there. But if you ask me, and I had to give you an answer right now, my MVP this year, at least offensively, would be George Springer. Just some absolutely ridiculous stuff. Another guy that had a really good game is Tommy Nance, coming in and getting a lot of big outs for the Toronto Blue Jays. Made a little bit of a switch in his repertoire. Started throwing the slider a whole lot more and the curveball not as much. Throwing the slider 20% more than he did last season. Dropped off the curveball to about 18%. And what they were talking about, I think it was Arden Zwelling is what I saw from some tweets. They're talking about on the broadcast a little bit as well, is that with that slider, he has a lot more command of the slider. And a lot of pitching is leverage counts. So you get behind and counts. You're down 2-0, you're down 3-1. hitters know you have to come back into the strike zone, and they're going to get aggressive. They're going to be looking for a specific pitch and just do a whole lot more damage. And that's why we see when you get to 2 strikes, a lot of the batting averages go down throughout baseball. Unless you're Alejandro Kirk, then somehow you just get a whole lot better. But what were we seeing from Tommy Nance, especially, in Buffalo this year in his little bit of time with the Toronto Blue Jays, that he's using that slider a whole lot more in counts, and he's using the curveball kind of as a put-away pitch, because that is a very hard curveball that breaks a ton. It's sitting at like 84, 85. It is very hard to pick up for a lot of these major league hitters. So, yeah, shout out to Tommy Nance for what he did in this game as well. And then the Addison Barger home run. Oh my goodness. Even Santander and Vladdy were like, oh my God, what has happened here? Like, how is this even real life? It's so fun watching Addison Barger launch baseballs into oblivion. What a series from the kid.
You know what? I think my favorite thing out of any time of Blue Jays baseball right now to watch is when Barger hits the home run and they pan the camera to Vlad and he's got his hands on his head and he's like, what is this? Kid is unbelievable because the power that he brings is crazy. And Carter, I'm going to bring it up now. I don't care. Addison Barger was taking swings right-handed off the pitching machine and hit a ball 115 miles an hour from the right side. Originally, he was a right-handed batter growing up, tried to become a switch hitter, ended up becoming a strict lefty, but also hits off the pitching machine 115 miles an hour. So I just fully believe that Addison Barger's athleticism can take him anywhere at this point. I don't believe there's something this guy can't do.
Yeah, it's just another guy that's just filled with talent. Like, really looking like we've seen a lot of the characteristics, looking like a little Vladdy just from the left side of the plate. They're talking about a little bit on the broadcast. I saw this a lot on Twitter as well, that people were saying, oh, well, if you can hit 115 from the right side, why not kind of turn him into this switch hitter role? So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on that. I guess I'll lead this one off. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, like, it's Addison Barger's doing really good from this left-handed side. I don't like that mid-season transition to all of a sudden just hit right-handed for some reason, especially when things are going so well from the left-handed side. And again, hitting off of MLB pitchers compared to a pitching machine, obviously a little bit different there as well. I think if he wanted to do that and like continue to have success, maybe that'd be more of an off-season thing if he wanted to make that transition. But I think right now, especially for the Toronto Blue Jays needs, they need that left-handed power bat. So I think with Addison Barger, just don't really experiment with anything. But I think for him specifically, especially if people are doubting him, he's a guy that wants to prove people wrong, especially with the Toronto Blue Jays fan base. We were kind of included that in this offseason where a lot of people kind of gave up on him, didn't really have a lot of belief in him. So I think just with the competitor Addison Barger he would be open to that plan, but I don't think it's a good idea this year for the Blue Jays.
Listen, this goes back to one of those things that baseball is a very mental game. And if you have to throw in switch hitting all of a sudden, that just adds a whole nother dynamic to a situation where you're having a good season. Why change things up like you said? But the mentality aspect of you have to think about your swing when you become a switch hitter, and you have to know, where do I hit balls best from the right side, right? You know where you hit it from the side you usually swing from. You know, okay, I'm looking for probably a ball here. But then if you go to a righty, you're like your swing path might be different, right? So you might have to find a different spot in the strike zone that you're looking for pitches. So there's so much that would go into becoming a switch hitter all of a sudden that absolutely not. You don't do it this season. I honestly don't think he becomes a switch hitter. I think switch hitting, I think, is eventually going to become a thing of the past anyway, sort of as we go, probably in the next 10 or 15, 20 years. I think you're going to see a lot less switch hitters just in general. So I just don't think that that's going to happen, as cool of a story as it might be going into next year or something like that. I think just let us sleeping dog rest or lie or whatever this saying is. You know what? Every time I say one of these sayings, I think I butcher them. Like, I think I'm like 0 for 4.
Yeah, a lot of the time you're just kind of, rambling. You just something from going up on there in the Brayden headspace. So I don't really I try not to get in your head too much here. So I just kind of, let you ramble, especially when you try to pull out some of those sayings. But I agree with the Addison Barger part. I don't necessarily agree with the switch hitter thing. I think we've seen it with the Toronto Blue Jays, how the platoon has helped a whole lot. And if you're a lefty going against left-handed pitchers, how much harder that is to just locate the ball and find the ball off the release point than it is compared to right-handed pitchers. So I think there is still a huge advantage to playing in those platoon situations, to have matchups, and switch hitters obviously help themselves out because they never have to go on that lefty-lefty matchup or that righty-righty matchup. But that's a completely different conversation for another day. I wanted to give another shout out to Alejandro Kirk, because I think there was maybe 10 different calls this game that it's like, oh wow, we stole one there. Like it was usually with the umpires. I feel like this year with the Toronto Blue Jays, we haven't really been that lucky with umpire luck. Alejandro Kirk definitely steals strikes every single game, but this one specifically, I don't know if it was Alejandro Kirk stealing strikes or it's just, not a great performance from the home plate umpire, but there was a lot of calls. I was like, ooh, wow, we kind of got helped out there.
There was a ball, I swear to God, a foot above the strike zone. And I'm like, no.
That was a curveball up there, too. It's like, how are you supposed to hit that when the ball is coming in at my face? It's 6 inches above the strike zone. It's just a tough scenario to be in when you're a hitter just going against MLB pitching.
Well, and from the Giants' perspective, you're already down 2-0 in the series. You're trying to scrape together the third game, and you're getting just screwed by calls, too. And that wasn't the only one. There was a few today. And yeah, I was frustrated for them. And usually, I mean, I don't care, but it was so noticeable that I was like, well, man, I'm probably gonna have to talk about this today on the podcast. So, yeah, sure enough, good thing you brought that up because I probably would have forgotten. But yeah, I was blown away by some of the calls. But you're right. Usually it's the Toronto Blue Jays getting screwed. So if we have to take a game here or there where the umping is on our side, I'll grab that for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about something going the Toronto Blue Jays way once in a while, especially just the way that things have been going. We sacrificed 2024 for good things in 2025. We'll have to see how the season does end up. But if we end up going a little bit of a run here, I think I'm going to be okay with that at the end of the day. But the baseball doesn't get any easier. This might be one of the more important series of this year. The New York Yankees roll back into town, going to the Rogers Center for a 3-game set. The Yankees just beat the Braves 2-1 in a series there, and the Yankees are 3 games back of the Toronto Blue Jays. So an opportunity for both teams here. The Yankees, if they sweep the Jays, then they would be tied. The Toronto Blue Jays can win a series. Or, I mean, if they sweep the New York Yankees once again, I'm going to be on I don't think anything. I don't know how I can get any higher for this on this baseball team. But if you sweep the New York Yankees, well, I don't know. That 999 challenge might go crazy there on Tuesday if things go well for this Toronto Blue Jays ball club. But we are going to preview that New York Yankees series. I guess let's quickly throw back over to you. Is there anything else from the 3 games against the San Francisco Giants that you want to bring up quickly?
No, not really. There's some injury updates I want to get into as well. On the other side, update you guys on Jimmy Garcia, Anthony Santander, Daulton, Varsho, everybody. So we'll come back. We'll do all that, plus obviously the series preview. So hold on and stay with us. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. The Blue Jays have been making me money hand over fist on FanDuel because they win, and I'm not going to bet on them to lose. So they really do. It's not just for my excitement and enjoyment of being a Blue Jays fan. It's also helping out my bank account a little bit. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game when your friends are getting sunburned on the beach, or both. Bet at the beach. That sounds great too. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That first bet has to win. Take a look. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, Carter, I just wanted to get into the injury updates here before we talk about the series preview. Just a couple. These are from Shai Davidi. Let's start with Jimmy Garcia on the IL with an ankle sprain, is now experiencing ulnar nerve symptoms in his right elbow, due for an exam to determine his next steps. Daulton Varsho playing 3 to 5 innings in the outfield for single-A Dunedin, aims to get him into Triple-A Buffalo this week. Number of rehab games still to be determined. Probably just gonna be a feeling out process.
It be at best sounds like Detroit Tigers series, but probably the series after that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Andres Gimenez with the team in Toronto doing defensive work on his knee to protect ankle. He's getting in some hitting as well. I'm okay with that, to be honest. Maybe he's got to keep working on some things. I'll leave it there. Anthony Santander arrived in Toronto. He's seeing doctors, kind of hopefully to get a plan in place with him moving forward. Unclear. Everything is pretty much unclear with Anthony Santander at this point. He's got to go through an examination. I think they're probably going to do some sports, a little bit like physio type of stuff on him as well, trying to just work everything back to form and then try to get him into rehab. But I think the timetable's pretty long here for this one as well. Nick Sandlin playing catch, starting to feel better. Alek Manoah, he started yesterday, Sunday in Dunedin, so he should be making more and more starts as this sort of progresses. Again, still a decently long ways away from Alek Manoah, I think. but you got to ramp him up. This has to be a spring training now for him, and coming off an injury that's going to be longer. So just a couple updates for everybody there for all you guys.
Yeah, I definitely want to have a bigger conversation about Anthony Santander and kind of how that whole entire process is going. But we will save that for probably tomorrow's episode. I think we should have time, depending on what happens with that New York Yankee series. If anything crazy happens, we will talk about these injuries, obviously, throughout the week and continuing on as we do hear more information. But yeah, maybe the biggest series of the year. I still think that New York Yankees 4-game set was probably the biggest series of the year. But this is obviously a very important one here as well. So the Toronto Blue Jays, they are obviously 3-game series against the Yankees. I'm just trying to pull up the pitching probables here. So game 1, they got Carlos Rodon going against Kevin Gausman. For game number 2, it is Cam Schlittler. He should be available, has been working on some injury stuff. I think it's a bicep problem with him, but he would be going against Max Scherzer if he's able to make that start. And then that Wednesday game going to be a little bit of a tough one for the Jays, but it went pretty well last time this guy was on the mound against them. Max Fried going against Chris Bassitt. Yankees, kind of the way they worked out their schedule, obviously they'd rather have a series win against the Blue Jays rather than the Braves, so they saved some of their bigger dogs for this series. The Toronto Blue Jays going to have to overcome some pretty fierce opponents, especially from the pitching staff, to win games in this series. But I'll throw it over to you for your prediction and what the Blue Jays should be looking for here against this series against the Yankees.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I mean, it's facing good pitching. I'm a little bit worried just by the matchups themselves, but I go back to look at the Yankee series from last time, and I was worried about those pitching matchups, and that went our way. I'm gonna go 2-1 Jays here. I think I'm gonna go game 2 and 3. I think that first one with Rodon. No, I'm going game 1 and 2, 1 and 2. I guess it would be. I just think that as good as Chris Bassitt has been, I think they're going to drop either game 1 or game 3. I have them winning the second game for sure. I'm a little bit torn on which one I want to pick, and it's all going to come down to how this offense can explode off of some of these really good pitchers.
Yeah, again, when you play Max Fried, I'm always going to be a little bit worried about that game. I really want to say sweep here, but I'm not going to do it. I'll try to, reverse jinx Toronto Blue Jays. I guess not really, because I still am taking a series win here for the Jays. I think that second game there's going to be a million runs. I think that game is going to be a lot closer than people necessarily think. We'll see how Max Scherzer does. That's going to be obviously a big component of that baseball game. Carlos Rodon kind of dominated the Blue Jays in that last performance. I think they are going to get to him here, so that's why I have first 2 games, Toronto Blue Jays are going to win. If they lose that third game, I'm not really going to be that mad whatsoever. Even with the way this is worked out right now, if you lose a series to the Yankees, it's obviously not ideal, but you put yourself in a pretty decent spot where you still, again, be 2 games above the Yankees in the AL East. You'd have a Detroit Tigers series coming up, so maybe not the best for the morale in the clubhouse, but this is a tough stretch. And we were talking about this 10-game stretch with the Giants, the Tigers, and the Yankees. We were kind of talking 5-5 would be something that we'd be okay with, and now we've had 3 wins. So if there's a series lost somewhere in here, preferably not against the Yankees, and that Tiger series becoming a little bit more important as, again, we look at the American League and now how that is going to shape up. But this little stretch here might be one of the more important ones to decide, hey, are the Toronto Blue Jays going to get a bye? Are they going to get the number 1 seed, or are they going to kind of falter and maybe end up in a wild card spot? So massive 7-game stretch coming up here.
Yeah, and I think maybe one of these days we'll take a look at the schedule sort of throughout the rest of the year and highlight some key series or some key stretches of time going into this back half of the year, because these are important. When you play the good teams and the teams that you need to surpass, this is where you sort of got to show up, because it's the difference between taking that next step and getting the bye or sort of faltering. And I think with the confidence this team has right now, I wouldn't take them faltering. That's for sure. I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays most of the time, especially after this Giants series where they sort of proved us wrong, right? We thought, hey, this is a pretty good looking lineup anyway. They might be able to take advantage of the Blue Jays, and that absolutely did not happen. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. We got the live stream coming up on Tuesday night, so make sure you guys join in for that.
It's probably a good thing that there might be a million runs in that game, because that gives us a little bit more time, fire down 9 hot dogs down the gullet. But I'm excited for that game. And just one more thing I wanted to quickly throw in. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No,
but the Blue Jays, again, just playing the San Francisco Giants. Robbie Ray has been very good this season. Logan Webb will get some Cy Young votes there in the NL as well. So they weren't facing slobs at all. They weren't facing bad competition. These are some of the best pitchers in the National League, some of the best pitchers in the major leagues. So you got Rodon, you got Fried. Again, tough challenges ahead. But the Toronto Blue Jays all season long have proved to us that they can hit good pitching. So I'm going to be super excited, especially for that Tuesday game. Obviously, we will be live watching that baseball game. Looney Dog Night, our 999 challenge. A lot of hot dogs going on there. So hopefully the Toronto Blue Jays can stay hot and take advantage of the New York Yankees in the series.
That's going to be sickening. Like I'll tell you a little story for everybody here who stayed around this long. Me and Carter, we went out. It was this thing called Pinawa Birthday. It's this little town. They do this big like social. And we had a couple drinks, to say the least. And I was the most tired I've ever been for a Sunday. And so now thinking about having Tuesday beers right now is the last thing on my mind. But you know what? I think the hot dogs anyway might be my savior or my downfall. So we'll have to play that by ear, I guess.
Yeah, this guy in the car as we're driving back, he had to work today as well. Didn't really sleep a whole long time. So credit to Brayden, we're still making it to work. That's because like, hey, do we have to do the 999 challenge? We're excited to go live, but now the 999 challenge isn't sounding as good here. I'm like, you're the one that wanted to do it. So you can't back out now. Now you might have to, maybe you're going to do the 18-18-18 challenge. Maybe when the doubleheader comes, the Orioles, you're going to have to do that sort of challenge if you can't complete the 999 here.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, the chances of me completing the 999 challenge are so slim. I'm not like a huge, like Carter knows this.
But you just casually eat 9 hot dogs at one sitting? That's not something you do on the regular?
Carter, I don't casually eat 3 hot dogs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting there being like, oh, you know what sounds really good right now? 1,000,000 hot dogs.
Well, back in elementary school, we used to have hot dog day. I used to be a 2 guy. I'm not sure about a 9 guy. Like the most I saw was 4. So 9 might be, a little bit of a challenge here. But hey, I'm open to it. Mine might not even eat on Tuesday whatsoever to try to prepare for it. But I'm more worried about like the Wednesday morning and how I'm going to feel, waking up at 6:45 in the morning after having 9 beers and 9 hot dogs while watching the Blue Jays game. But we're still excited for it. We're excited to go live. It's been a while since we've been live, and they were probably going to have, hopefully, going to have a ton of live streams coming up because we will be live for every transaction the Toronto Blue Jays do have at the trade deadline here. And then obviously the 999 challenge coming to you guys on Tuesday as well. So a little bit of a live stream week and week and a half coming up here. So I'm super excited, to bring you guys all the Toronto Blue Jays content and just see some massive trades and see how this Toronto Blue Jays team decides to reload and kind of upgrade some positions here for the trade deadline as they make a playoff push down the stretch.
Yeah, Carter, it's gonna be a bunch of fun. We hope you guys tune in for the live streams because we want to have you guys in there. That's how it makes it fun for us. Reacting, responding to you guys. It's during the game, so you guys will be able to watch the game as well with us. You can do the 999 challenge with us if you want, or just the hot dogs. I think that'd be hilarious if we just had like 1,000 people all eating hot dogs in a live stream together. Take the beers with what you will, because it is a Tuesday, and you're probably, I don't know how many people are down at 9 beers on a Tuesday, but we do what we got to do here. We're putting our bodies in the line for this Toronto Blue Jays team in 2025, Carter.
Well, initially when you're like, oh, I want to do this challenge, I'm like, oh, let's do it on like a Looney Dog night on Tuesday, Yankee series. Like it should be a pretty important series. Usually like Fridays I'm not available, so that wouldn't necessarily be ideal. But I don't know what other day we would have did it. But yeah, Tuesday night, in hindsight, not the brightest idea I've ever had. But hey, we're obviously not going to back out now. We're excited to bring you guys a little bit of our own turmoil. We'll maybe sacrifice our turmoil for hopefully a very good series coming up here against the New York Yankees. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. All the likes, comments, support recently has been very much appreciated. We have noticed that I think it's 72% now of you guys that are not subscribed. You guys are coming back, watching the live streams, the episodes, the shorts, whatever we do post here on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you do listen to your podcast. We appreciate that a whole lot. But Brayden, is there anything else you want to kind of throw in here to end this this weekend episode, I guess, or coming out of the weekend? Obviously, we're not in the greatest headspaces here. I cannot wait to go to bed. Not gonna lie.
This is gonna be the quickest head to pillow to, whatever, me not being on this earth for a couple minutes. That's gonna be awesome. I cannot wait, Carter. Yeah, you're right. This was this weekend beat us up. I'm not gonna lie to you. And you know what? Next weekend, our buddy's performing. He's in a band and he's performing, so we're going out again. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. So I'm going to take tomorrow. I'm just going to try to drink 1,000,000 gallons of water and clear the system completely. And then just so I can ruin it again on Tuesday. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.